Welcome back. So television licenses should be made into a tax. That's the call from the organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. The civil society group says the SABC should be funded through a more formalised tax or subsidy. The national broadcaster has faced financial challenges which have led to retrenchment of some of its employees. To discuss this further, we are joined by Outa's Stephanie Fick just to break down the details of this particular call. Stephanie, many thanks for your time this morning. I mean, how exactly would it work for the TV license to be transferred into a tax or a subsidy, and how much will the SABC benefit from this particular move?
Let me start off by saying that we think that it's not necessary for the SABC to be kept alive by either this TV license fee that is currently in the bill or the proposed household levy that's in the draft white paper. Why we alluded to a tax is first off, let me explain, is that we believe that the SABC's commercial side should be, well run in order for that to support its public broadcasting side, and that they should be funded by government. But if they persist with this levy or household levy or a fee, that they should rather treat this as a tax, because and then the act should be treated totally different. Then the minister can't regulate the fees in terms of just regulations. It should go through a vigorous process through Parliament as a money bill, so that Parliament can decide the amount of this tax or levy and so forth. So we are not advocating necessarily for this funding model. We think that there are more successful funding models for the SABC. But if you persist, then you must realize that this is a tax and it should be treated totally different. Tax in the sense that you do not have a choice. What they are saying is, if you possess a TV, if you have the potential of watching TV, you need to pay a fee and all this household levy.
And that's going to be very important, Stephanie, because a lot of the license fees are uncollectible, and this is probably one of the big reasons that the SABC finds itself in the situation that it's in.
I think we need to be honest with ourselves. Yes. Firstly, the television license fee is sort of uncollectible. The levy, this household levy, they expect, some of the private companies like MultiChoice to collect. It becomes a bit unfair. How are you going to make sure that you get your levies from each and every one? Not everybody watches MultiChoice. So, then it is a question. But I think the SABC is saying, listen, we are on the right path, because what they also need, not just a good funding model, not just making sure that they are commercially viable, but secondly, making sure that there's good governance, in the board, that they appoint people with the appropriate expertise in this field. And if all of that falls into place, plus considering a better funding model like a grant from government, they may have the means to look after the millions and millions and millions of people that are still dependent on the SABC for news, education, etc.
And I'm glad you bring up this issue of expertise and getting the right people on board, because the next theme that I wanted to unpack with you was the importance of having the right infrastructure and the resources to actually make this happen. You've seen it in various other departments. South Africa struggles quite a bit in terms of collecting any kind of money and distributing it in general.
Yes, that's correct. So you need to take that into account. Just out of interest sake, part of the SABC's presentation on the draft white paper, which they say, by the way, there should be clarity with this policy first before the SABC bill is finalised. But be that as it may, part of what they are saying there, boils down to the fact that, you're trying different ways and means of trying to collect something that you have seen in the past does not happen. And it's based on a model, yet again, of, if I'm not mistaken, it is Germany. We should look at our own country. We are such a diverse nation. We have 11 official languages. We need to look at something that will work for us. Why do we always, look outside where, a system like this might be working? Look inwards. What will work for us as South Africans? What will work for the 26.1 million viewers of SABC1? If the system is not working, do not try to improve a system that's not working. Think of something different. If they just change their regulatory environment, which hopefully will happen now. For example, the SABC gives away an enormous amount of money by this must-carry regulation that's archaic. I think if they change their business model, if they change their funding, we are on the right track.
We will be on the right track indeed if those changes are made. Stephanie Fick, many thanks for your time this morning. She's from Outa, explaining why those television licenses should be changed into a tax or a subsidy so that the SABC gets the operating capital that it so desperately needs.